Welcome, come on up.
If you could, officer, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you'll give the courts the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You can take a seat. Would you go ahead and state your name?
Brandon Melton,
And how are you employed?
Glynn County Police Department,
Where's Glynn County?
Brunswick, Georgia.
And would that be St. Simon's Island?
St. Simon's is in our jurisdiction, yes.
Okay. How long have you been working for Glynn County?
April will make my second year.
So you started April of 2024?
Correct.
And what's your role in Glynn County? Are you patrol, investigation, something
Patrol
else?
officer.
Patrol. Officer, were you working on February 1st, 2025?
I was.
And did you respond to an incident at 1015 Beachview Drive on
I
that
did.
day?
Yes.
What kind of incident were you responding to?
It was a third-party reported possible domestic. So basically what that means is someone residing inside the condos heard a disturbance from another room, called police because they were concerned.
At that point, when you responded to the scene, did you have any information as far as like what the disturbance was, what the domestic could be, or just that it was a third-party report of a possible domestic?
Yeah, the third party just reported that he heard yelling coming from a room above his.
Okay. So what happened when you got on scene?
Initially, myself and another officer made our way to room 305. We could hear some loud talking. Knocked on the door, introduced myself as Glynn County Police Officer. A white female identified as Miss Mericle opened the door. I am supposing boyfriend would be the correct term to use. Mr. Barron was standing behind her. We told her, a little quick synopsis that someone had called for hearing a disturbance and we were just there to check it out. Initially, she told me that everything was fine. She didn't need cops. And I could tell on her face that she had been crying. She looked emotionally upset. So I asked her again, if everything was fine, because I was finding doubt in, her statement. She told me everything was fine again. And then at that point, since Mr. Barron was right behind her, our typical protocol when you're responding to potential domestics is to separate the parties. So I had her step outside of her apartment. We closed the door and I asked her again, what was going on. And she told me everything was fine, but just a few seconds after that, she kind of started crying more emotionally and became more upset. I do remember noticing that her cheeks were pretty red. At the time, I was concerned that could have been, potential pressure marks or something. As it turned out later in my investigation, it was just from excessive rubbing from crying. But back to that main topic, she stated several times that everything was okay, but then obviously things wasn't okay. So I told her, obviously things are not okay. You're upset, you're emotional, you're crying. I can see that you've been crying for a few moments just from your demeanor. And she opened up and grabbed my hand and put it to the back of her head. Instantly upon touching her head, she had a large contusion on pretty much center of the back of her head.
And I don't mean to interrupt. So while you're having this conversation with her, you said that there was another officer with you?
Yes.
Where was he?
He was standing to the right of me on the outside of the door at that moment.
And at any point, do you and the other officer separate?
Yes. Just as soon as the contusion was located on her, a few seconds later, he went ahead and stepped inside to start talking to Mr. Barron, typical protocol.
So he's inside talking to Mr. Barron and you're outside talking to Miss Mericle.
Correct.
So you notice a bump on her head. Did she indicate how she got that bump?
Yeah, she told me that she had slipped and fell.
And did she say how she fell?
Again, she was very emotional. So it took several times of me asking her, how'd you get the bump? I asked her, was she hit, if Mr. Barron had hit her, if anything had hit her in the head, because it was a huge, huge bump, probably the size of a softball. It filled up the palm of my hand. Nothing that was just you bump your head on something lightly. And eventually she told me that she was standing on the inside of the door, preventing Mr. Barron from coming in. The time that she went to walk away from the door, he shoved the door. She was holding her purse and a to-go bag from a restaurant that they had just left from, and she slipped on the tile floor, fell backwards, and struck her head on the floor, which is why she ended up getting that. I apologize. That is an alarm. May I take a second to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Yes, please.
Because it is on silent except for an alarm. I apologize. That will not happen again.
No worries.
So, back in February of 2025, you had said that you started at Glynn County in April of 2024.
Yes.
And so this was February of 2025. So, from April 24 to February 25, is that how long you've been in law enforcement at that point?
Correct.
Were you, had you already gone through all of your field training, or were you still in active field training at that point?
I was in active field training.
So you were in field training at the time of February 2025. The officer that was with you, what was his name?
Officer Wooten.
And was Officer Wooten there for any particular reason as far as your training, or are you guys just partners? Like, what was the reason for him being with you?
He was my field training officer.
Okay, so Officer Wooten was your field training officer, and then you were in field training.
Correct.
So, she says that she's trying to keep him from coming in, and then she falls and hits her head. Did you ever do any, I guess, follow-up investigation, if you will, to try and confirm the story that she gave you about how she injured her head?
We did not.
Did you go inside the residence at all?
Yes, after my investigation with her, me and her stepped back inside. Well, I stepped back inside with Officer Wooten to consult with him to see what was going on, and she stepped in with me.
Did you know anything about, like, she mentioned to you that the floor was slippery, or that there's something that she slipped on and fell? I think
Yes.
you would testify to. Did you know anything on the floor that was slippery that she fell on?
Yes, one of the tiles directly in line with the door did have some kind of slippery residue on it. Later, upon reviewing our body camera footage, there was spilt food that was in the to-go box that Mr. Barron had cleaned up prior to me entering.
And did you, what did she note that she hit her head on, like the floor, or some other surface?
Yeah, she said that she fell directly backwards and struck her head on the tile floor.
And did you call for her to receive medical treatment for the bump on her head?
I did.
And did EMS or somebody come and provide medical treatment for her?
They did. They assessed it. They offered to transport her to the hospital, and she refused.
Did she ever indicate you that Mr. Barron had physically, like, assaulted her that night?
Actually, while we were outside separated from Mr. Barron and Officer Wooten, she stated to me multiple times that he was a great guy. He had never hit her. Then she brought up a prior ex-boyfriend.
And so moving on from that, so while you were speaking with Ms. Mericle, I think you had stated that Officer Wooten was speaking with Mr. Barron.
Correct.
Did you ever have the opportunity to, I guess, also witness Mr. Barron and his demeanor that night?
I did when me and Miss Mericle stepped inside.
And what was his demeanor that night?
He was very calm and collected. Several times, Miss Mericle would get more upset, and then he would speak out to her and try to coax her and calm her back down. But during the entire investigation there, he was calm and collected. He didn't seem aggressive. There was no anger that I could detect with him.
Was anybody arrested for the incident that occurred that night?
They were not.
How did you ultimately make that determination not to arrest anybody?
Based on Miss Mericle's statement to me separated from Mr. Barron, and Mr. Barron's statement to Officer Wooten separated from Miss Mericle, when me and Officer Wooten consulted, basically they give both of us almost mirror stories of the incident. It was called in from a third party, so that kind of eliminated the process that they knew that we were coming, so they didn't have time to collaborate a story to our knowledge. And based on that, Mr. Barron's demeanor, Miss Mericle's demeanor, there was no primary aggressor. And at that point, we just had to go off the facts and circumstances and their statements. Their statements were, it was a simple accident. He pushed the door. She didn't move in time. She slipped and fell, hit her head.
How many domestic violence incidents would you say that you've responded to as a patrol officer?
Since then or during that time?
Let's say since then, since you started in law enforcement to now, about how many domestic violence incidents would you say you've responded to?
Probably 50 or more.
Of those times that you've responded to domestic violence incident, has there ever been a time where the alleged victim of that incident basically indicated to you that everything was fine, nothing happened, but it was clear to you that something had happened?
Yes.
Is that something that you've seen before where someone might be clearly physically injured but insists that they're fine and nothing ever happened to them?
Well, each domestic has its own set of circumstances, but yes, it's definitely something that happens a lot. Not, again, each one of them is different, so it's hard to compare one to the next, but it is a fact of circumstances that does happen.
And in those situations where that's happened, where a victim has basically adamantly denied being physically abused, have you ever arrested anyone in those situations?
I have.
And even though the victim said nothing happened and I'm fine, you still ended up determining that there needed to be arrest in those situations?
Correct.
What was different about those situations versus the situation you responded to with Ms. Mericle and Mr. Barron on the night of February 1st?
The circumstances that deviated from Ms. Mericle and Mr. Barron was normally when you separate the parties and you question each other and then you come back and you restage your questions, you can usually see their demeanor has changed. Most of the time when they're coming up with an elaborate story, there's little tales that you catch, so you ask them one way and then you come back and you ask them another way. And somewhere in that story, if it's not 100% honest, usually you can detect where they're being dishonest. Sometimes when you're talking to them, the primary aggressor will get re-amped up again and show you signs that they're the ones that actually couldn't let things go. With Mr. Barron and Ms. Mericle, that's not the case. Again, outside when Ms. Barron separated from Mr. Barron, Ms. Mericle separated from Mr. Barron, where he could not hear anything she was saying, she continued to tell me that he was a great guy, he never hit her, that she didn't want him to leave from the apartment when I asked if she wanted him to go, anything like that. And again, Mr. Barron didn't show any signs of aggression when I spoke with him, and Officer Wooten, when we consulted, didn't see any while he was talking to him separated. And have you ever responded to an incident that was a domestic where a female was arrested? Yes.
After ultimately making the decision, I guess first with EMS, once Ms. Mericle declined to be transported to the hospital, do EMS just leave at that point?
Well, she signs a waiver stating, for their files that she's not receiving medical attention, and then they cleared up from the scene and left.
And then after you made the determination that let me ask you, when you were making the determination whether or not to make any arrests that night, did you consult with Officer Wooten, your field training supervisor?
Yes.
Once you both made that decision not to arrest anyone that night, do you ultimately just leave the scene at some point?
We did. We did stay back just a little bit as she was telling us details that wasn't about that particular incident. She was basically telling us about a prior boyfriend and the situation there.
And did you ever respond back to that condo, like the next day, for example?
I never went back to that residence.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
No questions. No questions. May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you for your testimony. You're excused.
Thank you.